It's a new season, so it's time to create a new installment for my seasonal art series. Hi guys, this is Lauren with Watkins Art, and I started this series because I realized after several years of living in our home that I didn't really have any art hanging on the walls, which is kind of weird because I'm an artist and art is kind of my thing. But if we rewind a little bit, you'll know that my house when I moved into had sat empty for quite a few years and needed a lot of work to bring it back to being a livable space, let alone making it feel like a home. And so we spent a lot of time making it feel less haunted and feel more like a home. And now it's time to create some art. So I did a few murals, one on the wall in my living room and one on the ceiling in my master bedroom. But I want to create some art for the walls to really make this space feel like my own. And the first thought I had was to create some seasonal artwork that I could switch out in my front entry. Each painting in this series is going to be the same size, 24 inches by 30 inches. That way when they're all framed up, they are identical in size so that I can easily just hang them off of the same hook each time I swap them out. So just to streamline that entire process. My first entry in this series was my raven painting. And it's a raven in front of a full moon, and it's really dark and moody and kind of spooky. We tend to decorate our house a lot for Halloween, so I thought it'd be fun to lean into that Halloween feeling of the season and just make it really fit the home decor. And I love that painting. It looks awesome in my house, except for now that the Halloween decorations are down, it looks a little odd with the Christmas decorations up. So it was time to make a new piece. Because this painting will be hanging up from November all the way to like the beginning of March or mid-March, I decided to lean into the winter theme instead of going holiday themed. That way it just can stay on the wall a lot longer and still fit the season and what's going on. And I didn't realize it at the time when I was designing this piece, but now 2 of the 4 seasonal paintings are bird themed, so I guess I'm leaning into that bird themed. So let me know if you have a good recommendation for a springtime bird to paint. I'll probably do the bird sitting on some branches of some fruit trees that are blossoming, like an apricot tree or a cherry tree, peach tree, something like that, because I grew up on a fruit farm and I just think that would be really fun to pay homage to that. So let me know of a good bird recommendation. So at this stage of the painting, I am going in with pan pastels. These are really finely milled pastels that are so soft that they cannot be used in a traditional stick form. So they come in a plastic compact. They look almost like a makeup eyeshadow or something, and you apply them to your paper using a sponge. So I blocked in the sky, I blocked in some distant branches, and now I'm going in with the Cardinal. When I first started this piece, I did the underpainting using Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay India inks, and I'm working on UART sanded paper. So here is a tip when you are trying to paint something that is a vibrant red and you're trying to keep that vibrancy to it even in the highlights. Do those highlights using yellows and oranges. Use your whites really, really sparingly because that white can kind of dull it down and it will turn pink, and that's not always what you're going for. Another thing I found is if I'm doing like acrylic paints and I'm trying to keep a really strong red, what I'll do is I'll start to lighten up my red paint with yellow, and then I'll add a little bit of white to it to adjust the value the rest of the way. And that way it just keeps a little bit more of that vibrancy and it doesn't read as pink. Usually when I am painting and recording a video, I'm working at my desk. And my iPad is out of frame, so you don't get to see how much I reference my reference photo when I am painting. But you see it quite a bit throughout this video process, and that is because I am looking at this picture a ton. I am using it to help me gauge value and color and shape as I'm drawing. There's so much information, and if you are trying to create a realistic looking piece, you cannot look at your reference photo too much. Also, you might have noticed that at the top of my reference photo, there's these random little color squiggles and markings. That's because I imported this image into the Procreate app, and then I used the eyedropper tool to pick out colors throughout the piece. So I had a general idea of what colors I needed to pull from my pastel collection to get started, and then I pull other colors to add a little bit of interest and variety to the piece, but it's a good starting point. Now you can see I am working on the background again. And I am keeping this very textured. I'm going in with traditional pastels now for it. And I'm blending it out using pipe insulation foam, but I'm not blending it out perfectly. I'm leaving some of that texture. And then I'll go and do some more layers. And I'm trying to create this ombre effect to the sky, so it starts off lighter and then it gets darker as you go down towards the bottom. But I'm also trying to create some texture because I don't want this piece to look like it's a sunny blue sky day. I want it to feel like there's some snow blowing and it's really frosty and cold. And to achieve that, I'm trying to create some more texture in this background. So I want the different layers of pastel to peek through with each layer. So you can see I went in with those lighter pastels, but you can see the layers underneath peeking through, and that's what I want to have happen. So I'm not pressing really hard with my pastels, and I'm overlapping all of the layers I'm doing, so you just get this really kind of fun gradient effect. I love this kind of texture that you get with soft pastel paintings because it's something you don't really see a lot in any other style, and it's part of the magic to me of soft pastels. Now I'm going in with a rubber catalyst. This is a tool often used in acrylic paints. It's basically like a giant rubber spatula without the handle. And I like it because it softens the lines or markings that I've put down, but it doesn't overblend them. So it's really good at just kind of softening up some of those edges in a very quick way. Now I'm going in and I am working at the bottom of the painting, and I am trying to refine those areas around the branches. Because the sky isn't a big swath of color in this section and it's broken up, what can happen is you can get kind of a halo effect around the branches and the sky, and I don't want that to happen. So I overlapped the branches with some of that blue, and then I'm going in with this soft tool, which is basically a sponge on a palette knife, and I am just bringing back those lines that indicate where the branches are on the tree. And the branches that I want to receive the most visually, I'm not going to put as much detail on those, and I'm going to actually go over those with quite a bit of blue pastel later on. Not shown are the layers of pastel I did to darken up the bottom section and to mirror the texture I did at the top down below. I just wanted to create a really strong ombre effect to the piece, and you'll see that when I zoom out a little bit more. Now I'm working on the Cardinal, and I'm going in with a mixture of colored pencils and pastel pencils, and I'm starting to block in the shapes and slightly more detail. I'm not focusing on a ton of detail, but I'm starting to get a little bit more detail to the piece, especially on the beak. And you can see that I'm going in and getting those highlights blocked in quite early, and that's because I want to protect those highlights. Sometimes if you get a lot of layer of pastel down, you fill in the tooth of the paper and then it becomes difficult to get that highlight back. So I just found where I know I want a really strong highlight to be, I just go in and kind of preserve it. It also helps me establish my value range. If I get the darkest darks in there and my lightest value in that section, then all the rest of my values kind of fall in between those two values, those two extreme values. So I have a bit of a secret for you. I am actually going in with colored pencils for quite a bit of this piece, especially at the beginning. I use colored pencils and pastel pencils when I'm working. I used to do it even more when I was first getting started, and I had a very, very limited supply of pastel pencils to work from. And I found that if I was working on like sanded paper, like this UART paper, I could do a pan pastel layer, then I could do colored pencil, and then I could do pastel pencil over the top. And that really helped me stretch the supplies I had and allowed me to create some really beautiful pieces. Some of my favorite paintings I've ever done were using that technique. The polychromos colored pencils still will move and blend on the paper a little bit, not as much as a pastel pencil. So I tend to use those for the in-between layer between the pan pastel and the pastel pencil. I also use the Caran luminance pencils. Those work great for this technique as well. I find that I tend to lean towards the more oil-based colored pencils for this technique, and I stay away from the really waxy ones like the Prismacolor ones, just because those ones can get too much of a wax bloom and fill in the tooth of the paper a little too quickly, and then you can't do any pastel over the top. But just a way for you to stretch the supplies you have. I used them on this piece, not because I was trying to get the most out of the pastels that I have. and stretch my supplies because I do have quite a few pastel pencils to work from, but I use them because they don't move as much. And so they're really good at creating those lines, like when I was reestablishing the shape of the cardinal or specific details that I didn't want to lose. The colored pencils were really great for that. And then if I need it to be a little bit more opaque, I can go in with the pastel pencil because the pastel pencil is more opaque than the colored pencil. Now I'm moving in and starting to block the feet of the cardinal and the branch that it's standing on and the branch in front of it. These ones really got lost in the blending process, and since these ones are going to be in the foreground, they need a lot more detail than the ones that are further back. So I need to give them a little bit more attention. So I'm just blocking in the shapes and the values of them and starting to refine that. The cardinal's feet do give me a little bit of heartache throughout this piece because in my reference photo, its main foot that you see that sticks out the most, that one is actually blocked by a branch, and I had to get really creative with figuring out how the shape of that foot would look and trying to make it look a little bit more natural. When you are working with pastels, you tend to work like thinnest layer to thickest layer, or in this case, you tend to go like your hardest pastels first and then get softer and softer as you go along. The only caveat to this is a pan pastel, which is incredibly soft, but because you apply it with a sponge, it presses that pigment into the tooth of the paper in a really thin layer. So it still really doesn't create a lot of buildup on your paper. But as you go in with your more traditional soft pastels, and as they get softer and softer, those pastels will start to fill in the tooth of your paper more quickly and become more opaque. So just something to keep in mind. You saw me go from the pan pastels to the colored pencils to the pastel pencils, and now I'm moving on to more traditional soft pastels. My big rectangular ones you saw in my hand earlier, those are the J. Luda pastels, and those are quite a firm pastel, but they have a really nice edge to them because they're rectangular in shape, and that allows me to get a lot of detail in. I used Unison, Mount Vision, I used Mamute soft pastels, I used so many different brands. A lot of them were new to me because I might have gone a little bit crazy on the Black Friday art shopping. So I'm going to be doing a no buy year this next year when it comes to soft pastels because I have way too many soft pastels I don't need to buy anymore. So now I'm just using this Unison pastel. This was kind of like a pink salmon color, and I went in and blocked in some more of the berries. And now I have this really vibrant red. Oh, I love this pastel so much. This is a Terry Ludwig pastel, and they're kind of like a medium soft. They are not the softest pastels on the market, but I love their texture, especially when I'm working on sanded paper like this. They are my favorite. But that red pastel was wonderful, starting to really get that punchy red feeling to this cardinal. And then I'm going in and working on the feet of the cardinal, and I mentioned it earlier, but I didn't have a really good reference photo to work on from the feet. And so I tried to avoid working on these feet as much as possible. And so I started having to tell myself that I had to work on them for 20 minutes, and then I could go work on a fun area for 30 minutes. And then I could come back and work on the feet again for 20 minutes. And that kept me working on them. And eventually they stopped being such a drudgery to work on because they did start to shape up. So I want to draw your eye to the branches. I added some pastel on them. I didn't show the footage of it, but you can see the really distant branches have a lot of blue layered on top, and you can just see the brown peeking through those layers of blue. That really helped create that feeling of depth, like those are out of focus, they're further away, maybe some snow was blowing in front of them. And then the branches that I wanted to read as being in the middle between the cardinal and the really distant ones, those ones have some blue on top of them, and they're a little bit more blurry and out of focus. And then the branches that I wanted to feel like they're the closest to us, those ones have a lot more sharp detail in them. They're not as blue, so they don't read as being far away, and they have the highest amount of contrast. And that really helped create that depth to this piece. So now we're reaching the stage of the painting where I really go hard on all of the little details. That tool I have in my hand is a clay shaper. It's basically like a silicone paintbrush, They use it a lot in pottery, but I love it for blending out really tiny details. Now I am going in with those Luda pastels that I mentioned earlier, and you can see how fine of details and lines I could get just using this soft pastel. I'm not using a pastel pencil or anything like that, and I could get teeny tiny lines and details using it, and I really enjoyed that about these pastels. And I really liked that kind of creamsicle orange that I'm using. It was a great color for the highlights on the Cardinal. And then I'm going back in with that clay shaper again and just softening up some of those details, because you don't want everything to be in sharp detail. It doesn't look natural, and it kind of affects our eye a little bit. And so I had to go in and just soften up some of those marks a little bit more. Now, earlier I mentioned how I wanted this piece to feel like it was maybe snowing outside, or like the wind had caught the powdery snow and was blowing it around. And I wanted it to feel really cold and wintry. And so I'm adding snow to the piece. And this was actually one of my favorite techniques to do. I've learned over the years, when trying to make things look snowy, there's several techniques I like to use. The first is I draw in the clumps of snow. So like the snow on the branches and the snow on the berries. But to make it look like snow is falling and to keep it really random, I do a technique where I create like a pastel paste or a pastel paint. And that is where I take an old cheap soft pastel, usually it's white because I'm trying to do snow or something, and I kind of scrape it off into a palette, and then I mix that powder with some rubbing alcohol, and I create this kind of thick paint, and then I splatter it onto my paper. And you can see it kind of splattering on now, and that creates this kind of random snow effect and really makes it look like snow is gently falling. If you don't want splatters to end up in an area of your painting, you might need to protect it with a piece of paper. But I didn't mind a little bit of snow falling in front of the Cardinal, so I didn't worry about it too much. I also did some like manual little markings to do bigger clumps of snow, but by doing those three techniques, it really made it look snowy and a little bit more organic than just manually drawing each individual snowflake. Now I'm going in and doing those final details. I added a little bit more blue to the Cardinal in the shadow areas. I felt like it just needed a fun pop of color that was a little bit more unexpected. I don't know, I just love adding surprising colors to areas. So I did that, and then when I was looking at the piece from a distance, I felt like I needed some berries that looked like they were further away. So I just took this pink pastel and I just kind of implied berries in the distance, and I just softly blended them out using my finger. Then I declared the painting done and I signed it. And if you're new here, you might not realize that I have a really bad habit of signing a painting and then going back and working on it some more. But not this time. I signed it and I stuck to my guns and I declared it finished. And I am really happy with how this piece turned out. It looks so festive and fun hanging on my wall. And I hope you guys learned something about soft pastels by watching this tutorial. If you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!